Welcome the anointed ones. Don't let your bank account fool you. Heaven's already stamped you as a high-value target. You better buckle up, because some of y'all are about to go from wallet anxiety to wire transfers, and it's going to feel illegal how fast it happens. But here's the twist. Sudden wealth doesn't just come with commas and confetti. It comes with spiritual warfare, psychological curveballs, and a whole new tax bracket of temptations. Let me ask you something real. What if the delay wasn't denial, but divine disguise? Because here's a fact most don't know. Over 70% of lottery winners end up bankrupt or broke within 5 years. Why? Not because money is evil, but because they were never trained to carry what they caught. And chosen one, that ain't going to be your story. This isn't just about money. This is about alignment, assignment, acceleration. God has been quietly upgrading your internal infrastructure for something bigger than status. He's not just preparing to give you wealth, He's preparing to trust you with it. And yes, your glow-up will confuse people. 1 minute they're ignoring you, the next minute they're Googling how to look rich without looking jealous. So if you've been feeling an unusual stillness lately, if your spirit's been low-key rehearsing the unfamiliar, if you've caught yourself checking your bank app even though you know there's only $5.16 in there, this message is your confirmation, because you're not just getting money, you're becoming a move of God in human form. Let's talk about it. Number 1, sudden wealth is a spiritual test dressed as a material blessing. Sudden wealth sounds like a dream until you realize it's actually a spiritual test in disguise. It shows up looking like a reward, but underneath the surface, it's a divine examination of everything you thought you had under control. When you finally get the money, when the accounts are full, and when you don't have to worry about bills anymore, that's when the real test begins. Because when you're broke, your choices are limited. You're careful, you plan, you pray. But when the options multiply, so do the temptations, and that's where most people fall. Sudden wealth doesn't just hand you luxury, it hands you power, and power is a mirror. It reflects your hidden motives, your secret fears, your old wounds, that craving to show off, that desire to be seen, that quiet hunger for validation. It all starts rising to the surface. And if you're not grounded, if your identity is still attached to what you didn't have growing up, then the wealth will own you instead of serve you. Some people think God gives wealth to show off His favor, but that's not entirely true. God gives wealth to test your stewardship, not to flex your status. It's not a trophy. It's a tool. And if you're not healed, you'll swing that tool around like a child with a sword, hurting yourself and others along the way. That's why before sudden wealth arrives, God usually allows delay, not to punish you, but to prepare you. He needs to burn out the greed, uproot the insecurity, and train your soul to be immune to ego. Because wealth in the hands of a broken person is like fire in the hands of someone who never learned to respect it. It doesn't purify, it destroys. This is why sudden wealth is less about celebration and more about preparation. It will reveal what you love, what you fear, who you trust, and what you still need to heal. And the truth is, many will pray for the breakthrough but curse the exposure that comes with it. But the chosen one understands. If God is trusting you with this level of abundance, it means He already weighed your soul and said, "You're ready." Number 2, money doesn't change you. It amplifies what was dormant. Money doesn't change who you are. It just gives the real you a microphone. That's why sudden wealth is so dangerous for people who haven't done the inner work. When the money shows up, it doesn't come alone. It comes with influence, with attention, with access. And all of that starts turning up the volume on whatever has been sitting quietly inside of you. If you were bitter before, you'll become reckless. If you were insecure, you'll start needing approval from strangers. If you were secretly power hungry, you'll start using money to control people. The money didn't create that. It exposed it. People love to say, "When I get money, I'll finally be happy." But if happiness was missing before, wealth will only highlight the emptiness. Because wealth isn't a fix, it's a flashlight. It will shine on everything you didn't want to face when you were broke. Suddenly you'll start seeing your habits, your fears, your spending addictions, your craving for applause. And if you haven't mastered your impulses, you'll convince yourself you're just enjoying life when really you're drowning in distractions. That's why many chosen ones experience long seasons of lack before the breakthrough. It's not punishment, it's training. God gives you time to get free from the ego, the trauma, the unhealthy patterns. He watches how you act when no one's watching. Because if you can be faithful with little, you can be trusted with more. But if you're already using your last dime to impress people who don't care, what will you do when you have millions? Wealth will make your name louder. But if your character hasn't been built, the spotlight will feel like a curse. You'll question who really loves you. You'll second guess every yes. And if you're not rooted in truth, you'll start trying to become who people want, not who you actually are. That's why the preparation season matters. It's where God shapes the kind of person who can carry blessings without being broken by them. The truth is, money isn't evil. It's neutral. It just magnifies. And when you're chosen, God doesn't want your wealth to be loud. He wants your wisdom to be louder, because that's what sustains it. Number 3, the delay was divine, to shield you from premature exposure. Most people think that if something hasn't happened yet, it means it's not meant to be. But when it comes to chosen ones and sudden wealth, delay is often the greatest form of divine protection. You weren't being ignored. You weren't forgotten. You were being hidden. Because if wealth had arrived earlier, before your eyes were fully open, you would have handed it to people who didn't deserve access to you. You would have poured your blessings into leaking cups, people who only knew how to take, not pour back. The delay wasn't a no, it was God saying, not while you're still surrounded. Wealth brings exposure, and with that comes opportunists. People change fast when money enters the room. Friends turn into competitors. Supporters turn into manipulators. And the problem is, when you're still in a vulnerable place emotionally, you'll confuse loyalty with history. Just because someone's been around a long time doesn't mean they're meant to go where you're going. So God let time do the separating. He let people show their true colors. He let betrayal teach you discernment. Not because he was being cruel, but because he knew that wealth given too early is a setup for sabotage. Chosen ones are built differently. You're not just being given money, you're being handed influence, impact, and the kind of favor that shifts generations. That can't fall into reckless hands, even if the reckless person is you a few years ago. So he slowed things down. He forced you into seasons of solitude. He stripped away fake friends, made you face your wounds, and taught you how to stand on your own 2 feet spiritually, because if you didn't learn how to protect your peace in lack, you'd be eaten alive in abundance. Sometimes the silence in your life was God creating distance between you and those who would have drained you dry. You thought they were supporters, but they were spectators. You thought they were with you, but they were watching to see when you'd rise so they could ride the wave. God had to let them go before he let the money flow. And when it finally shows up, you'll realize why it took so long, because you'll look around and finally see the ones left standing are the ones who never needed your wealth to respect your worth. Number 4, the wealth coming isn't for flexing. It's for funding kingdom-level assignments. The wealth coming to you is not just for comfort, it is for calling. When God blesses a chosen one with sudden financial increase, it is never random. It is not just so you can post vacation pictures, buy shiny things, or finally prove to people that you made it. That kind of thinking is too small. You are being trusted with something sacred, divine currency, not for flexing, but for building, not for impressing, but for impacting. The wealth coming your way is meant to fund something far greater than your lifestyle. It is meant to fund your legacy. Chosen ones do not just live well, they build well. They plant seeds that grow into movements. They solve problems that others ignore. They fund voices that carry truth. They create safety, healing, and breakthrough for others. That is why the delay felt so long. God was not just preparing you to receive, he was preparing you to handle. Because if wealth reaches someone before they understand their purpose, they waste it on validation. But if it reaches someone after they have been forged in the fire, they multiply it for generations. God is strategic. He gives wealth according to assignment. He is not blessing you randomly. He is resourcing you intentionally. Because where you are about to go, you will need more than just faith. You will need finances. Purpose requires power, and in this world, wealth holds weight. You're about to carry both. That is why he stripped you from the need to be seen. He did not want your vision to get lost in performance. He wanted your heart to stay clean. So when the blessing came, you would know exactly what to do with it. This is not the season to stunt. It is the season to build, to fund ideas that change lives, to sponsor freedom, to support the overlooked, to answer prayers silently whispered by people who have nothing to give you in return. That is real kingdom work. And when the wealth lands in your hands, it will feel divine. Because it will not just be money. It will be evidence that God found you trustworthy enough to carry answers the world did not know it needed. Number 5, you're being quietly studied by financial gatekeepers right now. Right now, without you even realizing it, your life is under quiet observation. You're being studied, not by enemies this time, but by gatekeepers, financial gatekeepers. People with the power to open doors that money alone can't buy. Banks, strategic investors, business leaders, silent benefactors, even divine allies you've never met yet. They're watching how you move in this season of little. They're not impressed by flash. They're studying your faith, your discipline, your patience, and your integrity under pressure. To them, this isn't just about potential, it's about character. They want to see how you respond when the spotlight is off. Are you still ethical when no one's watching? Are you generous even when it stretches you? Are you building with purpose or just chasing trends? These gatekeepers have seen talent before. They've seen charm, skill, and charisma. But what they rarely see is spiritual maturity wrapped in financial humility. That's what makes you different. And make no mistake, they are taking notes. Some are in positions to fund. Others are connected to systems that could fast-track your vision. Some are praying about who to align with. Others are being nudged by God to sow into someone that's been tested and refined. You're not waiting on money. Money is waiting on your readiness. Chosen ones don't just attract resources, they attract divine timing. You've been faithful in drought. You've stayed honest when compromise looked easier. You've built slowly, brick by brick, even when no one clapped. That's why the right eyes are now on you. Not because you begged, not because you sold out, but because there's something holy in your hustle. Something rare that cannot be bought or faked. When the door opens, it will seem sudden to everyone else, but not to you. You'll know it was earned in the quiet. While others were performing, you were preparing, and that preparation is what makes you qualified, not just to receive wealth, but to handle it with wisdom, power, and grace. Keep showing up with excellence. The gatekeepers are closer than you think. Number 6, wealth will trigger unhealed people who feel like you skipped the line. When sudden wealth shows up in your life, it's not just a blessing. It becomes a trigger for people who thought they had you figured out, especially the ones who always believed they were ahead of you. To them, your breakthrough feels unfair, not because you did anything wrong, but because in their minds you were supposed to stay beneath them. You were the underdog, the one they underestimated, the one they mocked in private. So when God lifts you in public, it shakes their sense of control. Unhealed people don't see your success as progress. They see it as a threat. It reminds them of everything they didn't heal, everything they didn't build, and every excuse they've been hiding behind. Your rise forces them to confront the fact that maybe favor can't be earned through pride, status, or connections. Maybe it comes from something deeper, something they refuse to cultivate. They won't just envy what you have. They'll question why you, of all people, were chosen. Some will say you got lucky. Others will downplay your journey. They'll call it a fluke, a coincidence, or say you must be doing something shady. Because admitting that your breakthrough was earned through quiet obedience, private sacrifice, and years of being misunderstood would mean facing the reality that they wasted their own seasons. That's the part they can't handle. It's not just your wealth, it's the reflection it casts. You become a living mirror. And what they see in that mirror doesn't flatter them, but that's the cost of divine elevation. Your glow will make people squint. Not because it's offensive, but because it's honest. It tells the truth about the fact that God promotes based on purpose, not popularity. And when he chooses someone to carry wealth, he doesn't check resumes. He checks hearts. So don't waste time trying to prove your worth. Let them talk. Let them assume. Your life is already the evidence. What they call luck, heaven calls legacy. And your wealth isn't about revenge, it's about restoration. Restoration of everything that was overlooked, dismissed, and downplayed. You're not just rich in resources, you're rich in resilience. And that's the part they'll never understand. Number 7, the real challenge will be surviving the isolation wealth creates. One of the hardest truths about sudden wealth is that it can make you feel more alone than ever. Everyone talks about the success, the lifestyle, the elevation. But very few talk about the isolation that comes with it. The higher you go, the quieter it gets. And not because you changed, but because people around you did. Money does not just shift your status. It shifts your relationships, your boundaries, your trust levels, and your environment. People you once loved will start to look at you differently. Some will expect instant access to your new blessings. Others will guilt you for not giving more, doing more, or staying where they left you. You will be accused of forgetting your roots when in reality you are just protecting your peace. You will start to see who was connected to your struggle and who was truly connected to your soul. And sadly, for many chosen ones, that circle is much smaller than you expected. Wealth exposes expectations. People who once clapped for you will start to compete with you. Some will become passive-aggressive. Some will cut you off without warning. Others will pretend to support you while secretly hoping you fall. It becomes harder to know who is real and who is playing a role. The loneliness that comes with that realization can be heavy. It can feel like a punishment, but in truth, it is protection. God knows that not everyone can go with you. Some people were only assigned to your survival season. If they had access to your abundance, they would have drained you dry. That is why the circle shrinks. That is why the conversations change. That is why the silence grows louder. It is not rejection, it is refinement. The isolation is not a curse. It is a sacred space where you can hear God clearly, move wisely, and make decisions without noise. If you are not grounded in purpose, that quiet can feel suffocating. But if you are rooted, you will recognize it as a sign that you have been set apart, not pushed aside. Because the truth is, not everyone is meant to walk with royalty. Some are only meant to watch from a distance. Number 8, wealth will invite demonic contracts disguised as business deals. Sudden wealth comes with more than just opportunities. It comes with traps. And the most dangerous ones will not look like scams. They will look like blessings. They will come packaged as partnerships, investments, deals, and once-in-a-lifetime offers. But not every investor is a divine connection. Some are demonic assignments. Some are agents sent to distract, derail, or destroy what you were called to build. And if you are not spiritually alert, you will shake hands with people who were never supposed to have access to your future. Satan funds too, especially when he sees you are about to fund healing, truth, restoration, or anything that threatens his systems. The enemy is strategic. He knows he cannot stop the blessing, so he tries to contaminate it. He sends collaborators who look clean on paper but are spiritually toxic. People who know how to speak your language, mirror your vision, and appeal to your emotions. But underneath the charm is control, manipulation, and hidden agendas. These are not just business deals. They are demonic contracts, and once you sign, it takes more than legal action to get free. This is why discernment becomes more valuable than ever in seasons of financial breakthrough. You cannot afford to make decisions based on numbers alone. You must read the spirit behind the offer. Who is funding it? What do they stand for? What is the long-term cost? Some deals will promise fast success but will tie your name to systems you were born to tear down. Some people will offer the platform but silence your message. Some partners will invest in you publicly while draining you privately. Chosen ones must remember this. Not every open door is from God. Some are designed to look divine but are backed by darkness. You are called to build something pure, something holy, something that sets people free. That means your resources must be clean, your partnerships must be aligned, and your decisions must come from a place of peace, not pressure. Do not be afraid to walk away from what looks good if it does not feel right. Do not ignore red flags just because the money is big. Wealth with bondage is not a blessing. It is a trap. Protect your mission. Pray before you sign and trust that God will never need you to compromise your calling to fulfill His promise. Number 9, the first million isn't the blessing, it's the battle cry. Most people see their first million as the finish line, as if once they reach that number, life will finally settle, the pressure will lift, and everything will fall into place. But for the chosen ones, that first major financial breakthrough is not a destination. It is a doorway. It marks the beginning of a completely different kind of warfare. It is not a moment to relax. It is a moment to arm yourself. Wealth makes you visible. When you were struggling, people overlooked you. They underestimated you. They left you alone because you were not seen as a threat. But once that first million drops, so does the mask of the people around you. Now you are a target, not just for attention, but for opposition. You will face legal warfare, Sudden audits, contracts laced with traps, people trying to bait you into lawsuits for money and headlines. You will face financial warfare. Attacks on your resources, unexpected losses, and shady advisors who smile in your face while planning behind your back. Then comes the ancestral warfare, the generational spirits that kept your bloodline in cycles of poverty, addiction, and failure will not sit back quietly. They were assigned to keep wealth out of your family, and now you have crossed the line. You are the one who broke the curse. And that kind of move awakens warfare that goes beyond you. You are fighting for legacy now. Every decision you make has weight. This is why your discernment must be sharper than ever. Every conversation, every offer, every connection. You cannot afford to walk blindly. Not everyone who claps for your success wants you to keep winning. Some just want to get close enough to distract you, drain you, or detour you. That first million is not just proof of what you survived. It is confirmation that you have now stepped onto a new battlefield. And you must be ready. Ready to protect what you built. Ready to say no, even when it costs you. Ready to walk away from anything that threatens your peace, your values, or your vision. You did not just get rich. You got noticed. And now your warfare is public, but so is your covering. Stay anchored, stay wise, because the blessing was never the money. The real blessing is the strength, strategy, and clarity you gain in the fight. Number 10. You're being set up to outgive nations, not just outshine peers. This next level of wealth that is coming to you is not about competition. It is about commission. You are not being raised up to show off. You are being raised up to pour out. God did not choose you to just be rich. He chose you to be responsible. You are not simply receiving money. You are being trusted to become a divine distribution center, someone who can take resources and turn them into revival. The wealth coming to you is not random. It is targeted, strategic. It is meant to reach places that have been overlooked, broken, and abandoned. It is meant to rebuild torn communities, rescue people who are gifted but hidden, fund ministries that are powerful but under-resourced, and dismantle dark systems that have held people captive for generations. This is not about increasing your status. It is about increasing your reach. You are being set up to bless on a level that governments cannot even touch. That is why you have felt the weight. That is why the warfare has been intense. You are not preparing to walk into a small season. You are preparing to carry a global assignment. You are not just meant to shine. You are meant to shift things. Your generosity will not just help people survive. It will spark movements. It will launch visions. It will rewrite bloodlines. You are not just a success story. You are a history maker. But for that to happen, your mindset has to shift. You cannot carry this blessing with a me, myself, and I attitude. The wealth you are about to handle is not for hoarding. It is not for proving people wrong. It is for healing what has been broken for far too long. God is trusting you with influence that is bigger than your name. This is kingdom wealth. And with kingdom wealth comes kingdom responsibility. You will outgive what most people only dream of having. And that is not a burden. It is an honor. Because while others are chasing applause, you will be changing lives. Quietly, powerfully, consistently. And when people look at your life, they will not just see riches, they will see restoration. Number 11. Sudden wealth will force you to forgive people you never got closure from. When sudden wealth comes into your life, it will not just bring new levels, it will bring old faces. People from your past will resurface. Some with fake smiles, some with real regrets, and others with the same silent competition they carried years ago. These are the ones who mocked you when you were struggling, betrayed you when you were vulnerable, and discredited you when no one else was watching. Now that you are elevated, they will reappear. Not because they have changed, but because you have. The tricky part is that many of them will not offer closure. They will not say sorry. They will not own the damage they caused. They will act like nothing happened. Some may even try to take credit for your growth, and in those moments you will feel the urge to flex, to remind them of who you are now, to let them feel the sting of being on the outside looking in. But that is not royalty, that is revenge. And vengeance is too cheap for someone carrying your kind of purpose. Wealth gives you choices. And one of the most powerful ones you will ever face is this. Will you use your new position to punish or to release? That choice will define the kind of person you are becoming, because true healing is not shown in who you clap back at. It is shown in who you no longer need to respond to. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is spiritual maturity. It means you have outgrown the need to be understood, and you are no longer held hostage by what they did or did not say. Some will approach you for help, others will watch from a distance. A few may try to re-enter your life like nothing ever happened. Your job is not to carry bitterness. Your job is to carry wisdom. You do not have to restore every connection, but you do have to release the resentment. Why? Because wealth does not just elevate your lifestyle, it tests your heart. You are not just being called to be successful, you are being called to be clean. And nothing clutters the soul like unforgiveness. Let them go, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Peace is the real flex, and forgiveness, that is the crown. Number 12, you will feel imposter syndrome, even though you earned it. Sudden wealth has a strange way of exposing insecurities you thought you had already dealt with. It is one thing to believe for the blessing, it is another to actually hold it in your hands. When the money comes, when the doors swing open, when the lifestyle changes, something deep inside might whisper, "Are you sure this is for you?" That quiet voice will not sound like fear at first, it will sound like humility. But it is not humility. It is the residue of being overlooked for too long. You spent years being the underdog. You got used to being counted out. You were passed over, underestimated, and sometimes even laughed at. So now that you're winning, a part of your mind is still playing catch-up. It feels unreal. You might question if it was a mistake. You might feel guilty for having more while others still struggle. You might even self-sabotage out of a subconscious need to return to what feels familiar, struggle. But here is the truth you need to hold on to. Your preparation was not loud, but it was legitimate. You were not posting about your grind, but you were doing the inner work. You were healing, learning, building, becoming. So now that the wealth is here, do not let old wounds tell you that you are unworthy of what you prayed for. You earned this. You were chosen for this, and more importantly, you were prepared for this. Imposter syndrome is a liar. It tells you that you just got lucky. It tries to convince you that you are one mistake away from losing everything. But heaven does not give out generational inheritance by accident. You were not randomly selected, you were divinely appointed, and everything you have walked through, every loss, every betrayal, every season of being hidden, was part of the training. So when the wealth hits, do not shrink. Stand tall, own it. Not with arrogance, but with authority. You are not an imposter, you are an answer, anointed, appointed, and assigned. The throne was made for you, the table was reserved for you. And now that you are seated, trust that you belong. Because heaven does not waste resources on the unqualified, and God does not make deposits in places he cannot trust. Number 13. God hid your worth until the system couldn't manipulate it. There is a reason your rise took time, a reason why your gifts went unnoticed, your name stayed quiet, and your light seemed dimmed while others were being celebrated. It was never because you lacked value. It was because God was hiding it, not to punish you, but to protect you. He knew that if certain people, systems, and circles saw your full worth too early, they would have tried to use it for their own gain. They would have taken your purity and twisted it for profit. They would have lured you with promises, only to trap you in places that served them, not God. So you weren't overlooked. You were camouflaged, covered, preserved. And while you thought you were being delayed, you were actually being shielded. You were spared from rooms where your name would have been exploited. You were kept out of circles where your gifts would have been pimped for exposure, but never respected. God allowed you to be underestimated so you wouldn't be owned. And now, the timing has shifted. You've been through enough to no longer crave approval. You've healed enough to recognize manipulation. You've grown enough to walk away from things that look good but smell wrong in the spirit. And because you're no longer for sale, God is making you undeniable. Not loud, not flashy, just undeniably favored. The same systems that once ignored you will now have to acknowledge you. But this time, they can't control you. The wealth coming to you is not just a blessing, it is a statement. A declaration that you cannot be bought, bribed, or bound. That kind of wealth is dangerous to the enemy because it funds freedom. It builds what religion ignored. It supports what tradition rejected. And it cannot be stopped because it no longer depends on being seen to be valid. You are no longer vulnerable to exploitation, because now you know who you are, and more importantly, you know who you're not. That's why this next level of abundance will last. It's not just falling into your hands, it's falling into the right hands, and what God gives in truth can't be stolen by strategy. This is wealth backed by heaven, and it's irreversible. Number 14, you're not becoming rich, you're becoming resourceful. This season is not just about money landing in your account. It's about something much deeper taking root in your mind. You're not just becoming rich, you're becoming resourceful. And that's a bigger shift than most people realize, because real wealth isn't measured by how much you can spend. It's measured by how much you can build, solve, steward, and sustain. God is not just increasing your income, He's elevating your insight. That means your entire internal system is being rewired. Your thinking is changing. Your decisions are sharper. Your perspective on money is maturing. You're starting to recognize that wealth isn't about what you wear, it's about what you create. It's not just about stacking dollars, it's about designing systems that make lives better. It's about seeing a problem and knowing you have the tools to fix it, not just for yourself, but for others too. God is teaching you how to manage before He multiplies. That's why He's been upgrading your financial intelligence. You're learning how to invest, how to delegate, how to scale, how to protect what you're building, and how to say no to what looks shiny but lacks spiritual alignment. You're developing the discipline that millionaires need before the money even comes. This is the type of wisdom that sustains abundance, not just attracts it. You're also being trained emotionally, because wealth without emotional maturity is a disaster waiting to happen. So God is healing the parts of you that used to overspend out of insecurity, overgive out of guilt, or overcommit out of fear of being left out. He's teaching you how to have boundaries without apology and generosity without burnout. And most of all, He's making you legacy literate. You're starting to think in decades, not just days. You're no longer trying to get rich quick. You're learning how to be strategic long-term. Because it's not just about what you can have, it's about what you can hand down, what you can build that outlives you. This is bigger than a financial blessing. This is an identity shift. You're not chasing wealth. You're becoming wealth in motion. Solutions flow through you. Ideas are birthed through you. Impact radiates from you. And when God makes someone this resourceful, the money has no choice but to follow. Chosen one, what's coming to you isn't just money, it's meaning. This is not about flashy moments or surface-level success. This is about divine responsibility. You've been hidden, humbled, refined, and prepared, not just to receive sudden wealth, but to carry it with power, purity, and purpose. Every trial you survived was training. Every delay was divine calibration. Every season of being overlooked was heaven's way of protecting what the world wasn't ready to handle yet. You. Now God is releasing wealth to the right hands, not greedy hands, not manipulative hands, but trusted hands. Hands that know how to heal, build, fund, protect, and restore. You're not just becoming successful, you're becoming strategic. You're not just being elevated, you're being entrusted. But with this level of abundance comes a deeper call. Stay sharp, stay clean, stay rooted in purpose. Don't get seduced by the noise. Don't fall for the fake support. And never forget, this wealth was never just for you. You are not the end point. You are the pipeline, the vessel, the builder, the breaker of cycles, the answer someone else has been praying for. And when the wealth hits, not if, but when, walk in it boldly. Not to flex, but to fund, not to flaunt, but to free, not to fit in, but to redirect history. Because the world has enough rich people. What it's missing, I believe, is people like you. If this message spoke to your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video so it reaches more chosen ones walking into their divine wealth. Comment below and let me know which part hit you the hardest. Your testimony might unlock someone else's. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. This space is for the called, not the crowd. Make sure you turn on the notification bell so you never miss when a word drops that could shift your entire season. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded. Their breakthrough isn't just coming, it's already in motion. Let's grow, rise, and walk in purpose together. You're not alone, you're aligned. God bless you.